Good Monday morning, Market Chameleons, and all those joining us for the first time. Thanks for coming by and checking out the Market Chameleon pre-market show with this man, Dimitri Pargamonic. How you doing, D?
Good morning, Will. How are you?
Good. You want to start with a disclaimer?
Yep. Good morning, everyone. Before we get started, keep in mind, Will and I and Market Chameleon, we're not a registered investment advisor. We're not a broker-dealer. We're not telling you what to do. We're just sharing ideas. If you need advice, call your registered investment advisor, call your broker. That's what they're there for, to provide you with guidance, give you advice. There's the disclaimer.
Excellent. So what are you seeing this morning?
Yep. I'm going to share my screen. While I'm doing that, Will and I, we do these shows in the morning to try to help answer any questions you may have about the Market Chameleon tools, the data or analytics. If you'd like to come on a show and ask your question live, we do provide a link to Zoom. Click on that link, takes you over to Zoom, then click on raise your hand. You could ask your question live and direct. If you prefer to type your question in, just type it into the live chat on YouTube. Will's watching it, he'll read it back to me. While we're waiting for questions to come in and more people to join us, we'll start out taking a look at the pre-market report to see if we could get some insights on stocks that are trading in the pre-market hours. Then we'll move on to questions. If we don't get any questions, I'll try to look at questions that were coming in from the emails. I'll just try to address those today. So let's start out with the pre-market report, and then we'll move on to the questions. All right.
Perfect.
So the pre-market report, these are stocks that are trading in a pre-market hours. We have a list of our most active stocks, biggest percentage gainers, biggest percentage decliners. I see 36 stocks made our percentage gainers list, 47 on the decliners. So far from that perspective, slightly bearish bias at the open. I'm going to also come up here and take a look at this calendar view, which is the pre-market activity by date. So these are the historicals today, July 24th. This is what's going on so far today. And it kind of summarizes the data from a top level. We have so far 394 stocks in a pre-market that traded higher, 301 stocks that are lower from the previous day's close. As far as volume goes, about 69.2 million shares are trading on up volume versus 83.1 million on down volume. And then as far as dollar value of that volume of the trades, $1.3 billion worth of stock trading up versus 945 million on down volume. So kind of a mixed bag, right? Like mixed signals, some bullish, some bearish. One more thing we could do is come down here to this list, and we do see stocks that are low cap stocks in here, ETFs, leverage products, anything that's trading in pre-market hours on the major US exchanges and meets our thresholds can make this list. And let's narrow down this list to a smaller group of stocks, and we could use the filters here to do that. And I'm going to use this one in ETF. When you click on it, you get a drop down menu, and you have some ETFs to select from. The top three, those are broad-based ETFs. Then you got some sector ETFs. Let's pick SPY. That's the S&P 500 ETF. Click on that, and the list below will get filtered by stocks that are holdings in the SPY ETF, which are the S&P 500 constituents. And here we have 4 stocks that made our percentage gainers list, 8 on our decliners. So this is shown slightly bearish bias at the open. So we were in there a couple minutes. Well, if you have questions, I'll take them now. If
we had one, I asked for a little more information. We had one question from a individual, Shrav, who came on for the first time this morning. It says, "Good morning, everyone. Dimitri, can you please explain today how to interpret notable trade in price action?" I'm not exactly sure what he's asking. Maybe you.
Okay. Did he give like a stock, specific
He
stock?
didn't give a stock. I asked what report he was actually looking at. It says just how to interpret notable trade in price action. Shrav, if that's you, you can come over to the link and ask your question live. Maybe
Okay.
walk us through what you're looking at. Oh, he says
Hello?
he's doing Zoom, so we do
Oh,
have
okay. Yep.
we do have him in, and
Yep.
should I bring him
Okay,
over?
yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Wow, there's a lot of people coming over the last couple of days, which is nice. Just go
Oh.
to the.
Okay. So you're gonna.
Yeah, I'm bringing him
live?
over now.
Okay. All right. Let's wait.
All right, it's Rob.
Good.
He's back.
Oh,
So I'm
okay.
assuming this is relative to the question we left hanging. All right,
Okay.
Rob, come on in and remember to unmute yourself. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, Robbie, how are you?
Hey, good morning, Dimitri. Thanks
morning.
for letting me ask the question.
Yep.
So I think I joined on Thursday as well, where you explained the block trade, dark pool trade. So that
Okay.
we ran out of time on the notable trade. So if you see, let's put say ASML or what you have Meta. So if you go into the price section,
Okay. Okay.
and if you go on the right hand side, this the bottommost is notable trade.
Okay.
And if you click the large block trade.
Yep.
So if you can explain what we see in this data, what is red means, what is green means, and then there are a bunch of charts here, how to interpret these.
Okay. All right. Yeah. Thanks for the question, by the way, Rob. So in this particular report, if we look at the price action, and it's really price action and combined with volume, all these reports try to break down the volume in the stock into, different classifications, different categories, so you could get more insights. And the idea behind it is, okay, we have all this volume in a particular stock. We'll stick with Meta, I guess, right, Robbie? You're not looking at a particular stock, just the report itself. And you're on mute in case
Sorry, what was the question?
Fine? Yeah, I'm just gonna demonstrate it on Meta, for example.
Okay.
Okay. So when we try to analyze the volume, we could break it down to different classifications based on what we see, in the tick data, in the information that's provided on the trade tape. And this may help us answer certain questions we may have. And one of the ways to break it down is to look at the individual trades and classify them by their size. Okay. And an individual trade could have different volumes. So you could have one trade that was 100 shares. You could even have one trade that was a fraction of a share, or you could have one trade that could be very sizable. It could be a trade that's, we have it set here to at least $250,000 in notional value, or we could even go higher, $1 million, let's say, in notional value. And the idea there is to look at how these things, so if I just switch to 5 million in notional, and you could see that all these graphs and the data below will then filter out individual trades that were a certain dollar value, but it's a single trade, right? So this isn't something that VWAP'd away. This transacted, and two people had to be on the other side, right? So there's counterparty, and they matched up in a single trade. And the idea then behind that is to section that off and say, well, how many of these transactions even exists in a certain stock, because not all stocks will have that, right? Not all stocks have that type of liquidity, and not all stocks will have that type of institutional presence and interest, right, on both sides. So in Meta, which is a high tech, large cap stock that trades a lot, it's in the news, it's, usually you have, large block trades that will transact.
We literally talk about this stock every day.
Yeah, so Meta, it won't be unusual to see large block trades, but you might see, the number of trades decreasing or increasing. So they could still move around, right? So when we talk about unusual volume, well, there could be unusual volume based on how you want to classify this volume, right? So if there's a lot of volume, right, all of a sudden going up in Meta, well, where is it coming from? How is it transacting? What happens after the transactions? So there are lots of different ways to start looking at those trades to answer certain questions, right? Is there more of these block trades happening when the stock is higher or when the stock is lower? How where are the prices that they're transacting at versus the VWAP price of the day, and so forth. So there's no one way to analyze it. The first thing you do is just kind of section off and see, well, how often do these happen in Meta? Like, for example, you could see here that even at $5 million or greater, we see almost every day, right? Transactions every day. Wait, actually, this is going backwards instead of forwards, but I might have to change that because it's going this way. But we could see here that on the last day, which was Friday, right, or Monday, there was one trade over $5 million in notional. The 3-day average was, the 5-day average was three trades on average, 30-day 5. So not a lot of them, but they happen. And we could even come in here and get a list of these trades, right, by date. How many, what prices they transacted, and the notional amounts, right? So here we have these highlighted ones are the ones that stand out by notional value, right? So $112 million, July 13th, July 6th, $108 million worth, sorry, 112 million, 108 million, 108 million, 105, and 111. So, and we got, also more stats here from, how far away did these prices trade away from the day's VWAP, right? How far they drifted away. The amount of block trades versus relative to all volume, right? So you could see here that relative to all the volume, about 2% here, 1%, 1.7%, because that's the total volume there. So the idea behind these block trades is to section off just that particular volume from the total volume, so you could analyze it, by comparing it and separately. So that's the idea. So we have, volume that's coming from, for example, retail. We have volume that's coming from VWAP orders that could be split up, right, into smaller trades. We have volume coming from hedging, like option trades and so forth. We have contingent volume that's contingent on trades, crosses. All this stuff is happening during the day. And when you try to answer questions and you try to get more insights, you start to break break that volume down into pieces, components, categories to give better insights. If you had a particular day that you're interested in analyzing, maybe something happened in Meta or in 5 days, something happened over a 5-day period, then you could kind of go back and look at the, these breakdowns in volume, right? Of, dark pools, retail, contingent trades, and so forth. So that's the idea behind these large trades that you want to see. Well, how many of them are there, right? How many are over 1 million? How many are over 5 million? Are they increasing, decreasing? Did more of them happen when the stock was up? Did more of them happen when the stock was down? What happened, going forward, and so forth?
So one question I have is, this bar is showing red and green. Does that mean anything?
So the red and the green is indicating what happened on that day, right? To the stock. So what we could see is that here's a big bar where there's a lot of volume, July 5th, right? And on that day, the stock happened to be higher, right? So the indication is that there's a lot of volume that day, and it happened when the stock was up, right? So that's what that bar is showing. So basically, it's just taking the volume, and then the bars represent the volume, the magnitude, right? The amount of volume. So you could see where there's more volume in large block trades during the history. And then the colors themselves just represent what if the stock was up on the day or down on the day. That's what the color indicates.
I see. Okay, thank you. So there is no way we can use this data to interpret bullish bias or bearish bias.
So, if you want to interpret it that way, I guess you could say that there is, some people, that's what they do. They'll look at the price action by volume and the direction and say that that's bullish, right? If it's up, or volume direction, and if the market's down, it's bearish bias. But on itself, right, you're just looking at one component of the volume. So in itself, you're looking at one piece of the puzzle, right? What's going on? So you have, think of it, take like CPI, right? When they track inflation, right? Well, what does this mean? They track inflation and they tell you, well, inflation is up 5%, right? So let's just say that's the inflation. Just like we could say the volume, is 35 million, or it's above average. Well, that is an aggregated number. And just like, for example, the CPI has different components in it. And then you could go in there and say, well, where is it coming from? Is it coming from energy? Is it coming from food prices? Is it coming from everywhere? Is it coming from, there's so many components like electronics, or they even track the cost of tickets to go to, events like basketball and football, those go into the CPI as well, housing. So what happens is that you're looking at this top number, and then the question may be, okay, let me look at the components that make up this top number to see what's going on in there. Like where are things being impacted from? Which numbers are the ones that are responsible for the biggest, moves or variance or changes. So that's part of the section in and off the block trades. We could see here the percentage of these large trades that transact versus the total volume. So that's the idea behind the block trades. But by itself, you cannot use it as a signal, like a bullish or bearish signal going forward. It's more of an explanation of the data.
So one follow-up question is, if you go to the summary on the left-hand side,
The summary over
Yeah.
here. Mhm.
yeah, the left-hand side, there is a summary.
Yeah.
No, actually, one on the left-hand side, which is on the top, where it says
Oh,
stock info, just below
up
that.
here?
Yeah.
This one? Okay.
Yes. And if you once it loads up, if you look at sentiments, the fourth tab,
Mhm.
so here it shows big money order. So sometime I have seen here option flow sentiment shows say bearish or bullish, and likewise big money flow stock shows bearish or bullish. So I wasn't sure how do we interpret big money stock flow data, from where is that bearish or bullish is coming, and we can try some other stock and see if it is showing it.
Like something like Tesla. Let's do that.
Yeah, maybe Tesla.
Let's see, Google. So
Let's try ASML.
ASML.
Yeah.
Okay, so in the ASML, we look at order flow, right? And we try to break down that order flow and how it's happening, right? And in the options, right? The options, you have certain types of players, you have certain types of players in the stock. And here with the options, right? It's shown that on balance, there's more negative deltas than positive deltas that were incoming, right? So the way we interpret is that the trades that are coming in, trying to trade, against the dealer, were more bearish than bullish. Okay. And then the big money stock flow looked bullish. So let's go over here under stocks, big money stock flow. And we're going to see ASML, right? Was that it? Yep. So I'm going to filter out just ASML. And here, this is where the indicators come in, that what we're seeing is that the way those block trades are trading, they're doing it in a bullish manner. And let's take a look why. So here we see that there's block trades that we say traded on the support and on the resistance. So when we look at block trades that trade below the VWAP and the stock drifts higher, than where the block trades occur, we call that support, and that would be bullish, because once something trades, big block trades, the stock starts floating higher from that price. Okay, meaning there's not a lot of liquidity or resistance on the sell side. Okay, if in the opposite, if the stock trades lower after a block trade, there's not a lot of support or liquidity on the buy side, not enough, the stock drifts lower. So here we see that there are 47 block trades of 50,000 or more. We could change it. Let's do that to 250,000. So this is changeable as well. You could look at it from how, you could change the dollar value of that block trade. So let's do 250,000 or higher, which I think that's what that report that we just looked at. So blocks 250,000 or higher. Over here, we see that on Friday, $437 million worth of them traded all day. And on the 30-day average, there's about 47 million per day. So you can see that's 9 times higher than usual, or almost 10 times higher than usual. So a lot of block trades were happening beyond what we see, right? Like an unusual volume, you could say, in those types of trades. And when we look at the dollar value, right? The dollar value of the trades, we see that $384 million worth of these trades traded at a VWAP price of $693.31. All right. And the stock was higher than that VWAP. In other words, that wherever they traded, the stock floated higher. Okay. On average. And there's about 52.8 million that traded for VWAP price of 695.26, where the stock drifted lower from there. So what this is also doing is looking at the previous days to see if the way these are trading. So let's go back. So the way these are trading, you could see that those prices are breaking through the previous days. So what they're doing is walking up, right? They're walking up those resistance from the previous days. So the manner that they're trading in, the pattern that they're trading in indicates strong, a strong demand for that stock, right? Like a bullish behavior, because not only are they increasing the amount of block trades, but they're doing it at higher prices, and that is bullish, right? That indicates that those buyers are bullish.
So Dimitri, if you look at the same data for this stock in price action notable trade, how does that look?
The ASML?
Yeah.
So this is, okay, so this is how, so this one here looks like, so we're going back more days, right? So this one looks like on July 20th, the stock was lower, right? But there was a lot of trades going on there. So on the day, the stock was lower. And then July 21st, which was the last day, the stock was higher. Is that what you're looking at?
Yeah, so that I'm just trying to interpret that if in sentiment we see bullish, will it reflect here as green? And if you see bearish, will it reflect?
Well, it won't reflect here as green or red, because this red and green indicator just shows what the stock did on the day. So it's not looking at, how those block trades, what happened after the block trades. It's just saying on the entire day, right? What did the stock do on that day?
I see. But those 47 trade, is there a way where we have those detail here as well? Because it should be breaking down somewhere here.
So you would have to go back to that. So over here, this gives you like a summary of those trades, right? But if we come back here, this is a summary as well. But over here, stock block trades. If you come here, it shows the list. Down here is the list of the trades. So if I put ASML, what do I have this set to? Hold on a second. I got to go back to, this is showing us this morning's pre-market. So this is July 21st. It was set, automatically it's set to the most recent day. So you got to go back. but here's July 21st. And this here is the breakdown of each trade, right? So you have the volume, the number of shares, the price it traded at, where the market was at the time. So these are already after hours. But you could go back, there are 223 total trades that happened, but this is including pre-market, regular hours, after hours. So you'd have to still, go there and filter it down. You could see a lot of them are happening in the dark pool. So this one here, what's happening in the dark pool is a little bit different. I don't have time to get into that. This would not go into our calculation because these are special type of trades that didn't just match up.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. All right. Thank you for the question. So I guess we're right up at 9:30, Will.
We are. Great job, Robbie. Thanks for bringing the questions it made for a great show. Anytime, we'd love to answer your questions. Just come on over. Thanks so much. Great job,
Right.
D. We did have a
Thanks,
question
Robbie.
from Rob about synthetic stock. Maybe we can get to that tomorrow. I'll send that over to you, D. Great
Okay.
job as always, my friend.
All right. Thanks, everyone, for joining. Stay safe out there. Have a great trading day. Hope to see you guys tomorrow.
Great in peace, everyone. Thanks.